Laker fans, welcome into the Lakers Report, and today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped. When you go to manscaped.com/chat, they're going to give you 20% off the Lawnmower 3.0. We're going to tell you a little bit more about their amazing products, but trust me, man, your balls will thank you. Now, today, I'm going to be talking about some free agents the Lakers could look to sign to restart the season, and that's what the NBA is considering doing. They're considering expanding and giving the teams extra roster spots as they go to Orlando, so that in case some guys get sick or they don't want to play, they can go ahead and bring them in. Now, two-way players like Devontae Cacok, a current two-way player for the Lakers, can be activated for the playoffs. That's what they're considering doing. Now, another little rule I want to make sure I mention before I talk about the players today is that some of these guys may not be eligible, because something the NBA is considering implementing here is that players that are to be signed before playing in Orlando either have to be on a G League contract or have had to be on an NBA team this past season. So that could rule out some guys, but that's not confirmed. It's just an idea they're discussing. Now, the Lakers have already added two players since the trade deadline, and really that buyout market became available in Markieff Morris and Dion Waiters. Now, Waiters has not played for the Los Angeles Lakers yet. Unfortunately, he was signed, and then the pandemic hit, and he didn't get to play. So in his time with playing, 9.3 points per game and 3.7 rebounds in only 3 games. But Markieff Morris was really good for the Pistons, had a few good showings for the Lakers as well. This year, he's been averaging 10 points per game, 4 rebounds, and shooting nearly 40% from 3, something that I think the Lakers are going to really, really benefit from when they get back to play, is a big man that can stretch the floor like Markieff Morris. But at the end of the day, one of them is going to have a bigger impact than the other, because they're both not going to play all that much, not going to play a ton, because there are guys that just came in. They're just now learning Frank Vogel's system. So when we return to play, when we finally get basketball back in July, who do you guys think is going to have the bigger impact? I want you to type MM for Markieff Morris, type DW for Dion Waiters. The reason I like asking these questions to you guys is because here on Chat Sports, we are the most interactive channel on YouTube. So do that. Go ahead and pick your player. And now I want to start talking about some of these potential free agents the Lakers could add. Starting off with a former Laker, Demarcus Boogie Cousins. Now, of course, he was waived by the Lakers back in February. He tore his ACL. He's also tore his quad. He's had all kinds of injury problems, but he's been rehabbing at the Lakers practice facility, even though he was waived by the Lakers. Now, he was a great fit next to Anthony Davis in New Orleans. I will talk about that here more in just a minute, but good friends with LeBron, good friends with AD, good chemistry on the bench, just never got to play. Now, the main thing to remember here is even if Boogie Cousins comes back, he's not going to be expected to start right away. JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard will carry the load at center most of the time. McGee as a starter, Howard off the bench, probably playing a few more minutes, and then Boogie will come in when need be. And if they get his all-star form back, that's great. But even if they get what the Warriors got out of him in just 8 games in the playoffs, that's good enough too. He's only playing 15 minutes in the playoffs, more than enough for a Warriors team that really didn't need him to make it to the finals. Averaged 7.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a good passer out of the post, and shot the ball not great from 3, but from the field, he wasn't bad at all. So yes, it was only 8 games, but those kind of numbers as a 15-minute per game, per night kind of guy, that's not that bad. That's something the Lakers could benefit from. Now, let's say he gets 100% back. He comes back and he is what we saw in New Orleans and Sacramento. Well, then you have two of the scariest players, two of the scariest big men in the league together. Anthony Davis and Boogie, when they were together, were averaging over 50 points per game, 11 rebounds from AD, 13 rebounds from Boogie. Anthony Davis was blocking 2.5 shots while Boogie's blocking 1.5. Boogie was a really good three-point shooter in New Orleans. He really showed that he can stretch the floor. Now, Boogie had his fair share of injuries. He only played in 65 games while AD was playing in 150. But if you get a halfway healthy Demarcus Cousins back, that's more than worth it for the Lakers. But there's already been talk of bringing him back in the summer and just waiting until free agency comes around. So when would you rather have Boogie back? Type in for now so you get him in Orlando. Type L for later. And maybe you're one of those guys that's like, never. I don't want Demarcus Cousins back. Well, then tell me that in the comment section below and tell me why you don't want him back. Now, J.R. Smith is a wing, something the Lakers really could look to improve on. And he was waived by the Cavs this past summer. So he has not been on an NBA team during the 2019-2020 season. That could make him ineligible to be signed. So I wanted to point that out. But if that rule doesn't go through, if they say, no, you can pick up anybody you want, then J.R. Smith might make some sense for the Lakers. We know he already worked out for the Lakers earlier this year before they went and signed Dion Waiters. He's staying in tip-top shape. He says he wants to play again. And if he's eligible to be signed, he kind of makes some sense for this Lakers team because they don't have a ton of great shooting guards, a ton of great wings ready to go. JR for his career. So obviously you put together his great years in Denver, some of the good years in Cleveland that he had, 12.5 points per game, 3 boards, 2 assists, and 37% from 3. Now, that 3-point percentage doesn't look amazing, but you think about the fact that he's jacking up a ton of shots every single game. That's pretty darn good. I think the Lakers team could benefit from J.R. Smith, but I don't think he's the best available wing right now. In fact, I think the best available free agent wing that was most recently on an NBA roster is Gerald Green. He was last with the Houston Rockets, got traded to Denver at the trade deadline, but Denver knew that they were getting an injured player, so they said, hey, we'll just go ahead and waive him. And he hasn't played at all because he broke his left foot, which kind of sucks for Gerald Green and sucks for the Houston Rockets because he was a good player off the bench last season. Now he's 33 years old. He's not young by any means. He's not a great shooter at all, but we all know Gerald Green as the incredible athlete. And it doesn't really matter how old he is. He kind of does the same thing on every team he's been on. You look at what he did with Boston, what he's done with Houston, what he did with Indiana, what he did with Dallas for a year. He kind of just bounces around. The New Jersey Nets, of course. He bounces around and is productive everywhere he goes. So if he's healthy, I say Lakers, go out and get this guy for a playoff push. 9.2 points per game, 2.5 boards, 35% from 3. The last time we saw him healthy with the Houston Rockets. And now, why am I pushing for a wing so much? Well, these are the quote-unquote wings. I put that in parentheses. You can't see the air quotes because I'm off the screen right now, but wings that the Lakers have. LeBron James, obviously the best wing in the game and probably more of a point guard at this point in his career. Danny Green, a good shooting guard. But then after that, you got Alex Caruso, who's a 2 guard. He's not going to be guarding any forwards. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a better guard, not that great defense. Actually, he's had a pretty good defensive year. I shouldn't say that, but a guy that isn't really a forward. He's a guard. And Dion Waiters, who you just picked up and has played 3 games this season. So your guard depth is lacking for the NBA playoffs your wing depth is lacking for the NBA playoffs when the most important position in basketball right now is the wings. You look at the best players in the game, they're all wings. So the Lakers want to go out and get a guy to help them. Go get Gerald Green. So you guys can pick a veteran that you want. Type JR for J.R. Smith. Type GG for Gerald Green. Either one can make some sense for the Lakers. I truly believe that. I think Gerald Green are a bigger need than a Demarcus Cousins right now. And personally, I've been typing GG for Gerald Green. At the top of the show, I told you that we are sponsored today by Manscaped. So when you go to manscaped.com/chat, you're going to get one of the best deals on the internet. You're going to get 20% off the Lawnmower 3.0. This little puppy right here. I promise it is the best investment you could ever make. It will save you wonders. I'm not kidding. It's summertime. It's hot. You got to clean it up downstairs. That's what the Lawnmower 3.0 does. And when you go to manscaped.com/chat, you're getting 20% off. And not only that, but the weed whacker as well. Men, you got some hair up in the nose. You got some hair sprouting out your ear holes. Go get the weed whacker. Get that trimmed up. Get it cleaned up. Looking nice for the ladies. You don't want to be hair everywhere, hair all the time. Trust me, manscaped.com/chat is where you're going to want to go. I love this product. I love Manscaped. I'm super passionate about it. And the best part about it is you can go get the perfect package. Literally, they give you everything. You see those boxers? I would show you them, but I'm wearing them right now. They give you this little DOP kit, a little Manscaped DOP kit. Oh, what do you want? Some ball toner? Don't worry, I got some for you right there. You want ball deodorant? Got that for you right there. Manscaped has got this all for you, 20% off. Use that code CHAT. Now let's keep it going with today's video, talking about some G League guys now. So not the really high profile kind of veteran free agents that have been around the NBA a ton, but guys that have been dominating the G League. Justin Anderson. Now, he last played in the NBA when he was on a 10-day contract this season for the Brooklyn Nets, but they didn't re-up that 10-day contract. They signed him instead to a G League deal with the Long Island Nets. And since he's been in the G League, he's absolutely dominated. He's an incredible defender. He's an incredible athlete. He's a pretty good shooter. He was a first-round pick by the Dallas Mavericks just a few years back and had a couple good years there, and then they traded him for Nerlens Noel, and he never played again in Philadelphia. Now, this season, you can see why he's been so good. 20.7 points per game, 7 rebounds for a guy that's an undersized forward, more of a 2 guard. And he's shooting 34% from 3, not incredible, but good enough to where I think he needs an NBA roster spot. I also really like Justin Anderson because he's built like an absolute truck. You look at the dude, he looks like a bodybuilder that decided to put on a basketball jersey. So I think this guy could help out a team right now. And I think one of those teams really could be the Los Angeles Lakers. He's a kid out of Virginia. He's a smart dude. He played 4 years of college. Go snag this kid if you want a guy that really is going to come in and give you a jolt of energy. So now the question is, because I've laid out a center, I've laid out 2 different forwards, I've laid out a guard, which position do the Lakers need to improve on the most before they head to Orlando? Let me know in the comment section down below. You can type a big, you can tell me it's a guard, you can tell me it's a wing. I'm going wings. I already told you that. That's why I think Justin Anderson and Gerald Green make sense, but maybe you guys have a different idea. Let me know now. So last guy I want to talk about, another G League guy, a guy who's a pure shooter. It's Dakota Mathias. Now, he played at Purdue last year. He's a rookie. He was picked up by the Dallas Mavericks. Again, another guy who actually the Mavs found out of the draft. And he played on their summer league team. Then he got an invite to training camp, and he's been really great. I mean, he almost got a spot on the roster, but instead they signed him to a G League deal. He's been playing for their G League affiliate, the Texas Legends. And the thing about this kid is that, yeah, he's a pure shooter. Yeah, he can knock down a three-point shot anytime you want, but he's also a great defender. You'd look at him and you'd say, I don't think so. But when he was at Purdue, he made multiple all-conference defensive teams. So, yeah, this kid is really good on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball. This year with the Texas Legends, averaging 18 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists, and there it is, 39.5% from 3. I like Dakota Mathias a lot. Since he is a rookie, I think he has the spot in the NBA. He just hasn't found it yet. I wouldn't be surprised if the Mavs maybe end up calling him up at some point in his young career. And really, I think the Lakers could say, hey, we want Dakota Mathias. Let's bring him in for the playoffs for Orlando. Give LeBron James another shooter to pass to. Now, Laker fans, I've laid out 5 different guys that the Lakers could go out and target. You've got Boogie Cousins, who's already been around the Lakers organization. You've got J.R. Smith, who's already tried out for the Los Angeles Lakers. Gerald Green, who, yeah, he hasn't played this year, but now with all that time off, you think he's healthy, ready to go. You got Justin Anderson, one of the most dominant G League players, and Dakota Mathias, a great shooter and a great defender. So the Lakers are to sign one of these guys before Orlando. Which of the 5 would you want? You can type A, B, C, D, or E in the comment section below. Laker fans, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.